Adira was started by Karen and Joe Robertson. They were going back and forth to Africa on, I think, mission trips. And Joe is a builder, and someone asked him to build an orphanage. So he started with him building an orphanage in Africa, and then they needed help with just various things. The word Adira is Amharic, which is the language they speak in Ethiopia, and it means we can help you with that. So that's how Adira started. He was meeting whatever need came his way. When you go over there, it's incredibly just heartbreaking to see the need. There's so many needs, and so there were needs for daycare. There were needs. The women that we work with originally were pillaging in the dump. There's a big dump called the Kora dump, and it's miles and miles. I mean, it's huge. It's like a mountain. And it's kind of like a little city because a lot of people live around it, and that's how they survive. They go and they dig in the dump, and that's what our women were doing. They were looking for food, things to sell, trying to support their children. I have to tell you, it's all about God, though. My involvement with Adira started in this spring. I've always kind of played with jewelry, and I have a bead room at my house, and our pastor was talking about hoarding, and I felt like I was hoarding my beads. And I'd also read this really good book called Rhinestone Jesus, and it was about this girl that went to Africa. She was a blogger, and she went to Africa, and she just saw this huge need for women, young women that were having babies and having to give them up. So she wanted to do what she could to help them from either having abortions or giving them up for adoption. So she started a home for those women in Africa, and she's just a young girl. So I read that book, so I prayed 2 prayers. I stayed in my little bead room, and I said, God, can I either take this desire for doing jewelry from me and let me just give this up, because I felt like it was becoming an idol, and secondly, if I could use this for your glory, I'd really like to. And the main prayer was, God, I don't know the question, but I want to say yes. So our little bead women started making paper beads and rolling these beautiful paper beads. So, but they needed help with that. They were using a shellac mixed with gasoline to shellac them once they were rolled, and that they were having trouble with that drying in the rainy season. So that's what Julie asked me about first. And so we were able to find a better way to shellac them with a water-based polyacrylic that is so much better for the women. There's no fumes, and it's water-based, so it's a lot healthier. When I started with Adira, they were just stringing them on long strings, just bead, 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 bead. And it was nice, but they kind of, for it to be more comfortable over here, we need some more kind of updated designs that American women would want, and even African women would want. So we came up with some new designs, and it's been a learning process the whole way, because I had never been, when I was coming up, I had never been to Ethiopia. I'd never met these women. I didn't know their learning curve before I went. So I was trying to come up with designs that were simple, but I realized once I got over there, they needed to be more simple than I'd originally come up with. One of the women told me the story of a grandfather and his granddaughter walking down the beach, and there are all these starfish that are washed up on the beach, and they can't get back into the water, and they're going to die. And the grandfather stops, and he picks one up and he throws it into the ocean, and the granddaughter says, "Grandpa, you can't save them. You can't save them. Why bother?" And he said, "Oh, but I can save 1 or 2 that can have babies and replenish." So, that was one thing that really struck me, is we can help 1 or 2 people, and who can help 1 or 2 people. So it was just that idea of multiplication that really hit me. So.